Hey y'all, how are all my beautiful friends doing? I hope y'all have had a positive, productive week, and today's video is going to be another missing persons video that y'all might have actually heard about, and it still baffles me to this day. I vaguely remember when this happened, and wow. Amy Lynn Bradley. Amy completely vanished off of this cruise line, Royal Caribbean. I'm sure y'all have all heard about Royal Caribbean, and it was the Rhapsody of the Seas ship. It was in late March of 1998, and they searched everywhere for Amy, and she literally just completely disappeared off of a ship in the middle of the ocean. This was over 23 years ago, and there have been some sightings of Amy in Curaçao. So is this really Amy? Welcome to Crime Time with Mal. My name is Mallori, and thank you so much for clicking on today's video. If you are new, I cover true crime cases, mostly missing and unsolved. That is my passion. That's where my heart is. I will throw in some solved cases here and there because let's face it, my anxiety needs the closure. So if that is something you would be interested in, I would love to have you subscribe and join this beautiful community we have over here. And if you are returning, thank you so much for clicking on my channel and watching my videos, commenting, all your support and appreciation. I truly appreciate it. So before we get into this video, I do want to just chat for just a second. It won't be long, I promise. But I will be going out of town on Monday and Tuesday. This coming up Monday and Tuesday. I leave Monday morning and I go to Atlanta. I can't say much about it. If you follow me on Instagram, you kind of already have heard me talk about this. But because of that, I'm going to try my best to get a video up for y'all on Tuesday. If that does not happen, y'all look out and make sure your bell notifications are turned and set to all, because I'm going to try to get on YouTube Live on Monday evening. I'll just be sitting in a hotel, so I figured what better chance to hop on live. I can never do that at night because of the two kids, and by the time 9 o'clock hits, your girl is exhausted. So hopefully I will get to chat with y'all on Monday. Let me know down in the comments if y'all will join. If you want me to do that, I would love to just like chill, hang out, nothing like serious, but just talk about cases, you know, just hang out like we're friends, because we are friends. Before y'all ask me what I'm doing in Atlanta, I do live in Georgia, so it's not that far of a drive for me, but I'm super nervous about this. I'm excited and nervous. I can't say too much, and I hate it when people say that, because you're just like, well, then don't say anything at all. But I just wanted to give y'all this update. I will tell y'all this. If y'all have seen my Storytime wedding video, that is like one of the that is the most popular video I have on my channel. I don't know why, because it was when I was pretty new to YouTube and I was doing like Storytime mommy videos, and it is pretty cringe, y'all. So if y'all watch it, don't judge me too hard, okay? But I had a lot of people off of that video ask me for like a part 2, because I said that there was more wedding drama that I had going on. So instead of doing a part 2 over here, y'all will get a part 2 on TV, on ABC. So I will let y'all know all the information as soon as I'm allowed to release it and get that out to y'all. I promise y'all will be the first to know. Well, besides my family. Okay, so Amy Bradley was born May 12th, 1974 to parents Ron and Iva. She also had a younger brother named Brad. They were only a couple years apart, so they had a very close bond together. And they grew up in the suburbs of Virginia, a cute little town called Chesterfield. And they had a very happy childhood, riding their bikes down the street. They had a lot of kids in their neighborhood, so they played a lot with them, chasing frogs, catching salamanders, you know, the whole 9 when you're a kid. The swim team was a very big part in their lives and their community, and Brad and Amy were actually on the swim team together. And at 23, Amy got her first apartment. She was so excited about this new chapter in her life. Amy was also going to start this new job. Her aunt's husband, who is in the computer industry, offered Amy a job. So Amy had a lot going on, a lot of great positive things happening in her life. She was also the type of person that was just driven to succeed. She was going to succeed at no matter what she did. She was raised with, you can do anything if you set your mind to it, and if you want to do it, you can do it. which I love that. I tell that to my kids all the time. And I think that is very important to let your children know that anything they want to do, it is very possible as long as you put in the hard work. She was also the only girl on the basketball team, and she was so great. She ended up getting a scholarship to college. You go, girl. But despite being a great swimmer, and she was obviously on the swim team, like I said, she was very unsure of the open water. She was not fond of like the ocean life. And I get that. A lot of my friends, they would never go on a cruise because you're just out there in the middle of nothing and all you see is water, and that's terrifying for some people. Me, myself, I think it's beautiful and so dang peaceful. Brad, her younger brother, has been on a cruise before, and he was telling Amy, you know, don't worry about it. A cruise is so much fun. You're gonna have a blast. We've never been to Curaçao, which is where they plan to go. We're just gonna have so much fun. Ron and Iva ended up getting the opportunity to take everybody, them and their 2 kids, on a cruise for a week to the Caribbean. And they thought, what better time to do it? They had Brad, who is 21 years old, in college, and they also had Amy, who is 23, moving out. So there was a lot going on, and it was just a perfect chance to get the family together to spend some true quality time. So Brad ended up convincing Amy to join them. And on March 21st, 1998, the family of 4 did just that. They headed off to go on their week-long cruise that boarded in Puerto Rico. San Juan, Puerto Rico is beautiful. We went there on our cruise, and if y'all have never been on a cruise, y'all should go. It is so much fun, so beautiful. It is so big, you can't even tell that you're honestly even on a cruise. It just looks like you're in a huge hotel. When they got to this cruise, they were shocked by how big it was and how you just feel like that big of a person when you're next to this giant ship. It's huge. There was over 2,000 people on this cruise, which is a pretty big cruise. And the Bradley family shared a room on the 10th floor overlooking the ocean with a beautiful balcony. 2 days into this cruise, they are out in the international waters sailing along, and it is time for formal dinner. So they all go upstairs, get all fancy in their nice clothes, and get ready for this dinner. And these dinners are so much fun, y'all. Brad was all nice in his tux. Amy had a beautiful long dress on, and this is the picture of that night. This was actually the night before Amy went missing. And this picture, if you don't know, if you have not been on a cruise, there are tons of photographers lined up with different scenery behind you, ready to take your picture. Like every single dinner they do this. After you take your picture, you go, I believe it's the next day, and there's like a wall of pictures. You find your picture and you can buy it if you want. It will cost you like $30, but it's worth it to me. And that night, Amy actually gave all 3 of her family members a rose that night. And that just shows what kind of a thoughtful person she was. Amy was very friendly. She spoke to everybody. She'd never met a stranger, and that's my kind of girl. So the 4 of them sit down at their dinner table with their other guests. Usually you sit with like other passengers on the ship, and it's really cool. You just chat and hang out. I actually still speak to the couple that sat with us. They live in Georgia as well. And then another couple lives right next to my mom in Florida. So you meet a ton of people, and those could be some lifelong friends. After dinner, they all 4 head upstairs to go change out of their formal wear and just get into more comfy clothes. And then they all headed upstairs to the pool deck where they joined a Calypso party. And these are a blast. They always have tons of entertainment and comedy shows, and y'all get the picture. People are dancing. You're just having so much fun. Amy ended up meeting some crew members on the ship and hanging out with them. And then Brad ended up hanging out with another group of people. Around 1 a.m., Ron and Iva decided to head off to bed. They told Brad and Amy, good night and I love you. And then shortly after that, Brad and Amy followed the party group over to the dance club. There's a little nightclub on the ship. Usually on pretty much every ship, there's a little nightclub, and they play music, drink, dance. Y'all get it. It's a nightclub. And this video is of Amy dancing at this nightclub. And this is the last image known of Amy. A few hours later, around 3:45, Brad ends up telling Amy that he's exhausted and he's going to go to sleep. 20 to 30 minutes later, Amy's behind him, and when Amy gets into the room, Brad is on the balcony hanging out. Amy went out there, sat down with them. They chatted about their plans for tomorrow because, they've never been there, what they're gonna do, you know, just hanging out, chatting, enjoying the beautiful view. And around 4 a.m., Brad lets Amy know that he's going to go to sleep. He asks if she's coming, but Amy says, no, I'm just going to hang out here on the balcony and enjoy the fresh air for a little bit. He told his sister he loves her, and he went to bed. And right before sunrise, Ron actually wakes up and sees Amy out on the balcony, sees Brad in the bed, and he's like, okay, everybody's safe, and he goes back to sleep. Then around 6 a.m., something woke Ron up. Like, you know, you get that feeling and you just wake up. He looked at the balcony, did not see Amy, and looked around the room, and Amy was not in the room. At this point, he's not too worried, so he does not want to wake up Brad or his wife. He just thinks Amy is on the upper deck smoking a cigarette, drinking some coffee, or maybe taking pictures of the sunrise. So he heads up there. He looks at all the decks, looks at all the open spaces, anywhere he can go, and he does not see Amy. This is about an hour search for Ron, and he can't find his daughter. He is freaking out at this point, and he goes back downstairs to the room, taps Iva on the foot, and says, I can't find Amy. Iva shoots her eyes open really quick, and she's like, what do you mean you can't find Amy? He's like, I can't find Amy. I forgot to say, on the way to the room, Ron sees a security officer that's not far away from his room, and he informs the security officer about Amy's disappearance. 3 seconds flat, Iva is dressed, and they are headed out the door to search for Amy. And this is very out of character for Amy to just leave and not let anybody know where she's going. She's very irresponsible, and she does not want her family to ever worry about her. So she's always like telling them, like giving them a heads up about stuff. So it's very unlike her. 2 hours in for them searching for their daughter, they cannot find her still. So they go to the captain and inform him of Amy's disappearance, and wanting to know if he can make an announcement. But the captain tells them no, that he does not want to disrupt any of the other passengers on board. This is what I have a problem with. I understand that you have a bunch of passengers, they paid to go to these different islands, and they are on a very strict timeline. But if I was on this ship and I got an announcement, or they made an announcement that there was a missing person, we needed everyone to stay put, or check your IDs once you leave, and have like a guard or a crew member out by the port before they get off the ship, I would completely understand. I mean, give the people a credit, or 3-night cruise, whatever. They make enough money that they can do that. I mean, Iva is bawling her eyes out. She's hysterical. Her daughter's missing. She's scared. They're nearing this island, and she's in panic mode. Like, she doesn't want anybody to get off the ship. And the cruise ship ended up later coming out saying that they didn't believe any foul play was going on. So I guess that's why they didn't, treat it serious. So now they're at the port, and over 2,000 people start leaving the ship to go to Curaçao. But the captain assured the family that as soon as everybody is off the ship, he will completely do a thorough search of everywhere. Now, I just don't understand. Back then, I gotta ask my mom, because she went on a cruise back then. Did they not check your stuff when you were leaving the port and just coming into the port? If y'all were on a cruise around that time in the 90s, did they check your ID or anything? I assume they didn't, because they checked it getting onto the ship. I don't know. This is nuts. I would be so livid. Several hours later, Captain comes back with bad news and tells the family that Amy is nowhere to be found. And at this point, he said they have 2 options. 1, you can stay on the ship and search, or 2, you can leave and get on the island and search for her there. They have 12 hours to search, and then after that, they're going to their next stop, which is St. Martin. Now, the family stays on the island, and they search everywhere for Amy. And what a hard decision. You know, if you leave that ship and you are not back there by the time they ring that little bell, you are SOL, baby. They are taken off, headed to the next port without you. And you just got to fend for yourself. The Bradleys then decide to go to the American Embassy. They see this as their only hope. They are in a strange country. They don't know where they are. They don't know anything that's around. you are in an unknown territory. Where do you start? And this is difficult because there's no really timeline with Amy. There is few hours of gap. So we know 4 o'clock is the last time Brad saw her, and she could have disappeared anywhere between then and 7 a.m., 6 a.m. when Ron woke up. So the American embassy thought like maybe she fell overboard. So the local Navy ended up searching the whole ocean, all surrounding the port. They had boats, helicopters. Everyone was searching for Amy, just in case she got off the boat and decided to swim to shore or tried to swim to shore, which she's terrified of open water. So I would myself, like, I'm not even kidding. My number one fear is sharks, and that gives me anxiety just thinking about it. I mean, I'm a survivor, don't get me wrong, so my ass will be swimming to that shore, but I'm going to be flipping my crap the whole way there. And I don't mean to laugh. I don't mean any disrespect, but that's like my personality. I find humor in stuff so that I don't get so, you know what I mean? But I could not imagine her position, nor could I imagine the family's position. Hours and hours and hours, the local Navy is searching for Amy, and they find literally no trace of her. And even though the captain told the family that she was not on that ship, the family decided to catch a flight and fly to St. Martin and demanded to get back on this ship. And now the FBI is involved at this point. And investigators said that the cruise line completely cooperated with everything. So I just want to throw that out there. The FBI promised the family that they would leave no stone unturned, and they obviously are going to start from the inside, the people that are closest with Amy, the people that last saw Amy, and they started with the family. They interviewed Ron, Iva, and Brad, all completely separate. And they actually had them sketch out the balcony. So they sketched out where the chairs were, where Amy was, where Brad was. Then they started to interview the passengers. Over 2,900 passengers. That's a lot of people. And on a very short time frame, like very short. Their cruise is about to end. They're going to an next port. They're about to board. Like, they've got a lot of stuff going on a cruise ship. And several people said that they saw Amy hanging out with crew members and different passengers. But one crew member in particular, Alistair Douglas, aka they call him Yellow. And Alistair is actually a member of the band that was at the club that night playing live, the Blue Orchid Band. And a couple of girls saw this, told investigators that they actually went on an elevator early in the morning, just before dawn. And a few hours after Amy went missing, Brad actually had an encounter with Alistair. Very creepy one, but Brad was on the pool deck just sitting at a table, and Alistair walks up to Brad and says, "Hey, I'm sorry about your sister." And at the moment, Brad is so into his thoughts and just overwhelmed. He's got a million emotions going on. His sister just went missing. So he didn't really think too much into this, but looking back, he was like, well, that's odd because there was no announcement. Nobody knew that Amy was even missing. Like, how did he know? So the FBI agrees with Brad and they interview Alistair. Alistair agrees to a polygraph test, and I cannot find the results to this polygraph unless they just didn't announce it. And Ron said that he saw Alistair walking out of that interview and he gave like a thumbs up motion, smiling at his other band members. Now this is either like everything's cool or I'm not in trouble, like being innocent, or it could be taken both ways. But I do agree that it's very odd that you're smiling and giving the thumbs up to your other band members when there's a person missing that you could have been the last person to see them. And of course, Alistair claims that he knows nothing. And on March 28th, Ron, Iva, and Brad fly back to Chesterfield, Virginia. And this is sad because they don't have Amy. You plan on going on this week-long vacation with your family, having fun, bonding, making memories, and you're leaving without one of your family members and you don't know where they are. Again, the unknown. So once the family gets back to Virginia, they start going to work. They start making phone calls. They start sending emails. They make flyers about the disappearance of their daughter and sister. They put together a website. And the FBI starts digging deeper, and they start interviewing people that Amy knew. Normally, people would automatically think like she did this herself and meant to do this, but her taking her own life was out of the question. Anybody that knew Amy knew that this was not something that you would do. And before y'all come at me in the comments, I already know. I never thought my best friend would have done that, and he did. But Amy had a lot going for her. She had this new job. She had this new apartment she was paying for. She had stuff to come back to. She even had a new dog. Oh, that poor puppy. The Bradleys ended up going to the media and announced their reward of $260,000 for the safe return of Amy. Weeks pass, FBI is stalled, and in April, Ron, Iva, and Brad decide to go back to Curaçao to see if they can find any more leads. They start putting up flyers about Amy with the reward money on it, locals and tourists all around the island. And Ron was approached by this local taxi driver. He was an older guy, and he asked Ron if he was the father of the missing girl. When Ron said yes, this guy ended up saying, "Your daughter is on this island, and I hope you can find her." That gave me chills. Ron and Brad looked at each other, and they kind of thought, like, is this it? Or are we going to find her? The cab driver also told Ron that Amy came up to his cab and asked where she could find a phone. So he gave Ron and Brad 3 different locations of where she could possibly be on that island. One place was this huge resort on the island, but it only had 2 cars in the parking lot. It looked like a ghost town, and there was nobody else there. So they ended up not being able to speak to anyone. They went to the other 2 places, walked around there, but that eventually became a dead end as well. The next day, they're walking around town, there's cars passing by, and all of a sudden, some girl yells out of the car, "Brad!" Brad looks around, but nobody is there because, you know, he thinks that they were passing by in a car, but he said that sounded exactly like Amy. Ron and Brad ended up staying another 2 days, but because they found no leads again, they decided to head back to Virginia. While they were in the Miami airport waiting for their connecting flight, Iva calls very disturbed and anxious, and she said that they found a body in Curaçao that was a female, matched basically everything of Amy, and it could be Amy. After forensic testing was done, the spine of this person that they found ended up being a man and not a female, so it was not Amy, and the family was super relieved because Amy is out there still, and there's a chance that they could bring her home. 13 months go by, and tons of tips are flooding into the police, but nothing is solid. They cannot confirm anything. And then in May of 1999, Amy's case is featured on America's Most Wanted, and this is huge. Y'all know this is like great. Canadian scuba diver ended up calling in and saying that he thinks he saw Amy on the beach of Curaçao in August of 1998, only 5 months after Amy went missing. Amy had several tattoos. One was including of a drawing she drew herself of a baby Tasmanian devil on her left shoulder blade. David said he saw that tattoo. He is certain it is Amy, and he agrees to meet the Bradleys. When they meet up, they talk. He says that she was with 2 very aggressive men, and the FBI agrees that this could be a very credible source, but there, it's different. They're not in American jurisdiction, so they have to follow the laws of Curaçao, not America. Actually, FBI said that they weren't even able to corroborate any of the story. It turned into a dead end also. August 1999, 17 months after Amy went missing, an acquaintance called the family and said, "I know a guy who is in the special forces and they want to help find Amy." So the family contacts this guy named Frank Jones. Frank specializes in cases like this. He has an arsenal of equipment, he works with a team, and he has contacts on the island. And within days, he contacts the family and says he knows where Amy is. He said several people on the island have spotted Amy in the company with several men. He said Amy was reported to be alive and held in captivity. At this point, Bradleys are going to do anything to find their child, to get their child back. I think any parent will go to the ends of the earth to get their children back. So they give Frank $24,000 to help with expenses, gas, fuel, all those things that go in to help searching and rescuing a person in captivity. Frank then comes back to the family and says, I need $100,000. They want this as a ransom. The family's kind of like, I don't know. We're going to need some proof, pictures, something to know that our daughter is actually there. So Frank sends back this picture. It is of this guy with blonde hair. You can't see this girl's face to see if it is Amy or not, but you can see that there is this Tasmanian tattoo on her left shoulder blade. So the family is like, perfect, that's our daughter, and they sent him the $100,000. That $100,000 was not just for the ransom, it was to help fund the operation to get Amy back. In October of 2000, Frank says he is ready to go for the mission. He has her coordinates, her location, pictures, everything. He tells the Bradleys to head on over and fly to Miami and have a jet on standby so that they can take their daughter home. Iva packs up all of Amy's bags. She lines up doctor's appointments. Can you imagine how excited you are that you're about to get your daughter and you waited over 17 months to get this? So they head to the hotel and wait patiently, anxiously for Frank's call. A lot of sleepless nights, a lot of staying by the phone. 1 week passes and they're still sitting at the hotel, and Frank finally calls, but it is bad news. And Frank says that he has to abort the mission, that one of his guys ended up getting injured during a
weapon fight
with one of Amy's captors. Ron and Iva are completely devastated, but before they head out on their flight to Virginia, they receive another call. This time it's from one of Frank's team members, Tim Buchholz. And he says Frank is a con artist. He's a scammer, and everything he's telling them is a lie. They did not know where Amy was. They did not have her location, and they did not have her on surveillance. He said that he was eavesdropping on Frank's conversation when he called the family, and he had to let them know the truth. Frank was just chilling on the island, drinking these drinks on the Bradleys' dime. Dirty. Ron and Iva contact the FBI, and the FBI is ready to apprehend this Frank character. Now, who tells parents that they found their child that has been missing and we're ready to bring her home? Like, y'all are gonna get your child. And there is a special place for people like that. Please don't be one of those people. As soon as Frank flies to Virginia, the FBI arrests Frank and charge him with wire fraud. He is sentenced to 5 years in prison and has to pay the Bradleys back in full. And to the Bradleys, this was more than just the money. This was precious time wasted that they could have been out searching for their daughter. Now, in May of 2002, a former naval officer, I've said that like 5 times and had to redo it because I kept tripping on my words. He came forward and said that he also thinks he saw Amy. And this was 4 years ago, but he did not come forward because he's in the military, and he saw Amy in a brothel. If you do not know what a brothel is, Google it. I cannot say it here on YouTube. But he saw Amy working in this brothel in Curaçao. He said the girl leaned over to him and said, "My name is Amy and I need help." I cannot. Then the military frowns on things like this for their officers to be associated with these kind of things. So he did not want to get fired. And that's why, like I said, he did not come forward earlier. But he ended up seeing the case about Amy on the media and decided that I think is the girl that I saw, and he came forward then. The FBI sends out their agents to authorize the story. Then they head over to this brothel, only to find out when they get there, the brothel is burnt down all the way to the ground. 2005, 7 years after Amy's disappearance, another tip was sent in. Somebody sent a picture to the Bradleys of this girl laying on a bed in very little clothing, and it looked really like Amy. Now, they found this picture on the internet on a site, if y'all get where I'm saying, in the Caribbean, advertising. Okay. The Bradleys sent it to the FBI so the FBI could do their facial comparison tests on it. And they came back and said, in their opinion, it is Amy. But agents in Curaçao have no luck finding this girl in this picture, Amy. Therefore, the FBI could not determine if it was actually authentic or not. This case is still open till this day. What happened to Amy? The Bradley family still has hope, but they are literally being tortured. This is over 23 years ago, and their daughter will be in her late 40s. Like, what? They seem like a wonderful family, and I am praying every single day that they get the chance for closure and to see their daughter again. She could very well be out there. Like, y'all, what do you think about this case? What do you think happened to Amy? Do you think she is out on that island and got sold? Do you think she's no longer with us anymore? Please, just whatever your thoughts and opinions are, be respectful down below. You never know who's watching these videos and reading these comments, and the last thing I want to do is disrespect or hurt anybody that comes to my channel. I want this place to not have that effect on people. And if you have any information or know anything about this case, please contact the FBI at 202-278-2000. This case stresses me out, and as much as I love cruises, like, y'all, that could have been me. And I'm sure a lot of y'all, like me and Dusty, went on our honeymoon cruise, and there were several times that we like lost each other, or he went one way and I went the other way for different things. One night he went to bed because he was super exhausted and your girl wasn't ready to go to bed. I stayed up there hanging out with one of my girlfriends that is now one of my girlfriends that lives next to my mom. Like, anything can happen, and that is so terrifying. I hope y'all liked today's video, and if you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed, don't forget to hit that subscribe button before you leave. It's free. It just helps my channel out. The likes, the comments, the subscribes, I truly appreciate it all. And I will see you on Monday. Let me know again down in the comments below if y'all would be interested in having that. It would be like Monday evening, and I will see you in next week's video. Definitely gonna make it a point to try to hop on the live on Monday evening. Like I said, I'll just be hanging out in my hotel room, so it'll be nothing fancy. But I love y'all so much, and I appreciate y'all more than anything. Y'all have a great weekend. Be safe out there. Stay positive. I love y'all. Bye. Bye.